Hey guys, it's Haley. So today, well, first off, I'm gonna apologize for my awful lighting. It's snowing in Virginia, and when I say snowing, I mean we're just getting a dusting. But all the schools closed about 2 days ago. We just got snow today, so it's very dreary looking outside, which does not give me the natural light, and the light above me it's not even on, but that's besides the point. So this is what we get. And I'm going to do that with my glasses because you can just see the reflection. And I don't like that. So we're going to do that. So anyways, today I wanted to make a video about kind of where I'm at with my Coast Guard journey, why I decided to join, and I will probably ramble because, well, that's just what I do. I ramble. So yes, and I'm gonna just get right on into that, and hopefully I'll overcome this awkward. No, I won't. Okay, so hair's going up because this is about to get serious. Okay, just kidding. But anyways, bear with me. So I decided to join the Coast Guard. I decided to join the military when I was 15 because, throughout high school, I career hopped. I went to community college, decided it wasn't for me, so I just kept working at my current job. I was a sales associate at Route 21. And I actually got married 4 months after I turned 19 to my husband. We've been married for almost 5.5 years now, and after we got married, we ended up moving to Texas about two or 3 months later. He was going through tech school. If you didn't watch my first video, he is in the Air Force. He's a staff sergeant now, but he was going through tech school in Texas at Goodfellow Air Force Base, and we ended up moving about 2 months later to Germany. And these are all the reasons as to why I did not join the military, in case you haven't figured that out. So we moved to Germany, and I started working about 9 to 10 months after we got there. It was kind of hard for me I don't want to say it was hard, but the process for me to get a job over there, I wanted to work on base because I spoke no German. None. And so I ended up working at the ODR, and literally the day I started working, I found out I was pregnant with my daughter. So I worked for 9 months, quit. Well, my last day was my due date. 2 weeks later, I had my daughter. I was a stay-at-home mom with her the rest of my time in Germany. My husband signed up for a deployment, and I decided to move back to Michigan because of a few reasons. If you really want to know, I can address that in a later video or leave a comment asking why, but that's really not important. So I worked for a little bit at a credit union back in Michigan, and basically just kind of waited for my husband's deployment to be done. So he left in July, it was done in January, and then in May, we left Germany. So there's really no point in me going back to Germany. And when he was done, he moved back stateside, and he visited home for a week or two. We moved here to Virginia. Jobs, I was trying to enlist with the Air Force. And being in another state, it's really hard to get your medical records. You cannot get them faxed to you unless either you pay a bunch of money or you can somehow prove you are who you say you are, which most places don't do that over the phone. So I had medical records when I was in Germany. So long story short, got all that stuff taken care of. I went and took the ASVAB at a local university. Took my ASVAB there. It was the online test. I had taken the ASVAB prior to me even getting married, and I did the paper test. Personally, I prefer the paper test because you can go back and check your answers. With the computerized test, you cannot. You click an answer, you best hope it's right because you can't go back and you can't skip answers, or if you, well, maybe you can. I know I didn't, but whatever. One thing I did like about the computer test is that you got to see your score right after you were done. So yeah, I did that, and I was supposed to schedule everything to go to MEPS. Well, apparently they needed, 3 other things from me. I had totally forgot. I had like a rib pain right here that was nothing. I had gotten it fixed, and I was supposed to have a follow-up, and I didn't because I moved here. So I needed that. When I was younger, my mom told me, oh, you're allergic to dairy and a few other things. Turns out I was never actually tested. So for 14 years, I believed that I was allergic to dairy and I think it was, don't judge, but corn and something else. So I had to, basically, my husband wrote up like this professional looking letter thing that said I was never properly tested. I was just led to believe by my parents that I was allergic to these things. So I had to basically prove, I had to bring in a letter that stated that I got the record for the rib pain, and I don't remember the other thing, but I needed that. And so I brought it into my recruiter, and he was like swamped because he was the only guy in there in the whole office because his other coworker she was sent somewhere else, and his boss was training another airman to do the recruiting job. So I got to see his boss after an hour of waiting, and I had my daughter with me, so thankfully she was being exceptionally good in the office, otherwise I just would have left. But I went to see his boss, and she told me, okay, well, it says you weren't diagnosed with these allergies. And I said, no, I was led to believe, whatever. Long story short there, she told me, well, MEPS isn't going to accept these things. You need to make appointments with all these doctors and make sure that you don't have this rib pain anymore, that you aren't allergic to these things, and whatever the hell that other thing was, I can't remember. I had to basically go see 2 or 3 separate doctors to fix these things. Now, if you have allergies, I don't know, if you've never been tested, what they do is they draw like a grid on your back, and they like draw blood from different parts of your back, and they test it with, they check to see if you're allergic to certain things. They did that with my brother, and I'm pretty sure my sister. And I was never tested. I know I had gotten blood drawn at some point in time, so I just thought that's how they tested me. Didn't know. And I just was so furious. I was like, I have been doing this for a year. I am not, no, I'm not doing this. So I just go home, and I was pissed. I told my husband, I was like, you know what? I'm going to look into Coast Guard and Navy. Navy was ruled out real quick because I'm like, I don't want to go underway. I don't, especially if I got stationed back here, because there's 3 or 4 different bases around here because we're on a peninsula, essentially. And I'm like, yeah, no, because I would probably get sent underway a lot, and I don't want to be away from my kid for, that long, and plus I get kind of claustrophobic, so I don't really want to be on a boat. So I decided to call the Coast Guard. I called them like an hour and a half after I got home, and I set up a meeting for the very next day. I met with my recruiter the next day, and I gave him the papers, and I said, I want to do this. I said, I'm done with the Air Force. I'm done playing around. So he was like, all right, do you give me permission to go ahead? And I said, yep. Signed the paper. He got all my stuff. My recruiter from the Air Force never contacted me. He said he was going to follow up with me to see what his boss had talked to me about. He never called me. It had been 3 days, still heard nothing, so I was kind of like, okay, F you, dude, whatever. And so that's kind of how it started with the Coast Guard. My recruiter got me to MEPS 2 weeks later. I had to sign a bunch of papers, partially because of me being married. There's a lot more paperwork involved. I had to bring in copies of not only my birth certificate, my driver's license, my social security card, my high school diploma. I had to also bring my husband's. And then I also had to bring in my daughter's birth certificate, her social security card. I think that was it for her. Yeah, she doesn't have anything else. But, so I had to do all that stuff. And then I went to MEPS. So it's like everything happened so fast. So that was kind of how I chose to end up Coast Guard. And I can go into my experience with MEPS and where I'm at right now. But that's kind of like my thing, that's why I decided to join. And it's like just the timing didn't work out with us getting married and then moving and then having my daughter and then moving back to Michigan and then moving back to Virginia. It's like it just all happened. But 6 months after moving to Virginia, 6 months after moving to Virginia, I asked my husband what he thought. He's extremely supportive. He's like, do this. This would be awesome for you, especially because you don't really know what you want to do, and it would help us out financially. Not that we're not like, broke or anything. We budget really well. We're fine every month. It's just, but like I want to get my daughter involved in 2 dance classes. We want to take her to Disney for her 5th birthday because she's obsessed with Disney princesses. And we want to go see my brother and my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law in Utah. Like, we want to go visit, and my sister-in-law is going to have a baby, and, it's like, so we want to be able to see all of our family, and it's like, flights are expensive, even just driving is expensive. Like, I won't even get into this story, but I have to pay $600 to fix a little part of my car. Like, my car is drivable, but I don't want to drive it just because I don't want to break it further, so. But anyways, so there's that. And I hopped onto YouTube to find out what I could find out about Coast Guard and boot camp and, females in the Coast Guard. And I found nothing on the females in the Coast Guard. I found one YouTube channel, and I think she's posted like 5 or 6 videos, maybe, about her joining the Coast Guard. I'm going to tag all 3 of the channels that I really liked, and that kind of helped me. One of them isn't exactly Coast Guard, but he does a couple videos with one of his friends that is Coast Guard, and they kind of compare, because he's Navy and his friend's Coast Guard, so they kind of compare the 2 together. But the one girl that I did find, her tag is Elena Cray Cray. I will put it in the description and also on the video. But, she just kind of gave like her advice on packing and what happened at boot camp and all that. But it's like I wanted to make this channel so that you can kind of see the difference between like the men in the Coast Guard and the women in the Coast Guard. Because, like, no offense to the guys, I don't really care how your experience was. I want to know about a woman, like a female's perspective with the Coast Guard. But the other 2 channels that I liked, the Navy guy that has his friend's name is Coast Guard Chris. The Navy guy is the one with the channel. It's JT Suits. And the other guy that I think I found him first, it's the Andre Lifestyle. He was Army and then went from Army to Coast Guard and went through boot camp again. So there's that. And then hopefully, if you are a female wanting to join the Coast Guard, you will continue to follow me. Or if you're a guy and just want to know, hey, follow me too. Or if you know somebody that's going to join the Coast Guard or has questions about joining the Coast Guard, you can tell them about my channel. That'd be nice. But I'm going to go ahead and create another video kind of talking about like my experience at MEPS, what happened with, my experience. My husband's off the next 2 days and then obviously off the weekend. So I'm going to see if he would want to do a video with me comparing his MEPS experience with my MEPS experience. If that's something you're interested in, go ahead and let me know below. If you're kind of like, okay, wouldn't you have the same experience? No, because he went through the MEPS at in Lansing, Michigan, where we're from Michigan, not from Lansing, but anyways, and I went through my MEPS experience at Fort Lee, just outside of Richmond here in Virginia. So I guess that's kind of it. So if you have any questions or want me to address anything, please leave a comment. If you want to subscribe to my channel, that would make my day. If you want to know anything about me, does not have to necessarily pertain to the Coast Guard, let me know, because I'm kind of an open book. So I guess I'm going to end it here. Hopefully you will watch my next video about MEPS and where I am at right now in my Coast Guard process. All right, see you guys later. Bye.